Picture yourself scrolling through a car dealership website, brand new models gleaming on the screen, 0 miles, full warranty, latest technology, everything a rational person should want. But something feels wrong. Something feels hollow. You close the laptop, walk into your garage, and look at that rusted 1969 Camaro sitting in the corner. Dented, incomplete, decades of neglect written into every surface. And somehow, inexplicably, that feels right. That moment, that choice, tells us everything about one of the most fascinating psychological profiles in the modern world. The people who would rather restore than replace aren't just making a different purchasing decision. They're operating from an entirely different set of values, needs, and psychological drives. Every hour they spend under a hood, every part they hunt down, every imperfection they refuse to ignore, reveals something profound about who they are and what makes them tick. Let's start with something most people completely miss. Choosing restoration over replacement is actually a powerful statement about how someone's brain is wired. Psychology researchers who study decision-making have found that most people are what they call loss-averse and effort-minimizing. We naturally gravitate toward the path of least resistance. We want the new thing, the easy solution, the guaranteed outcome. But restorers are psychologically different. They score exceptionally high on a personality trait called conscientiousness. They are detail-oriented, patient, and persistence runs through them like steel. When the rational choice is to simply buy new, they lean in the opposite direction entirely. And this isn't stubbornness for its own sake. It's a fundamentally different relationship with value, effort, and meaning. Think about what choosing restoration actually demands from a person. You might spend months searching for a specific part that hasn't been manufactured in decades. You might invest an entire weekend solving a single mechanical problem only to discover it created 3 new ones. You might pour resources into a project that by any financial calculation makes absolutely no sense. And yet you continue, because for the restoration-minded individual, the process itself is the point. In our world of instant upgrades and one-click replacements, this psychological orientation stands completely apart. Now here's where it gets genuinely fascinating. There's something deeply therapeutic happening in every restoration project. When psychologists study hands-on mechanical work, they consistently find something remarkable. The act of diagnosing problems, sourcing solutions, and physically rebuilding something triggers what researchers call a flow state, a concept developed by psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi after decades of studying human happiness. In flow state, the noise of daily life, the work stress, the relationship tensions, the endless digital notifications, all of it simply disappears. There's only the problem in front of you and your hands working toward its solution. People who restore rather than replace have often discovered, sometimes without even realizing it, that their garage is actually their most effective therapy room. But the psychology goes even deeper than stress relief. Many dedicated restorers report that their projects become containers for processing significant life experiences. A man rebuilding the exact model his father drove isn't just working on a car. He's working through grief, maintaining connection, keeping something alive that feels irreplaceable. A woman restoring a vehicle from her youth isn't just preserving metal. She's in conversation with her own history, her own identity, her own sense of continuity across time. Psychologists who study object attachment describe this through a framework called object relations theory. We form emotional bonds with physical things that help us navigate our most complex internal experiences. And unlike people, a restoration project never judges you for going slowly. It simply waits, with infinite patience, for you to figure things out. Let's talk about something that rarely gets discussed when people debate buying new versus restoring old. Control. Modern life has become increasingly unpredictable. Economic systems shift without warning. Technologies we barely understand reshape our daily existence. Institutions we once trusted have disappointed us in ways we're still processing. In this environment, the restoration project offers something almost countercultural in its simplicity: complete and total control. You decide every specification, original factory details or thoughtful modifications, preserved imperfections or meticulous corrections. Every single decision belongs entirely to you. Psychologists who study autonomy and agency have found consistently that perceived control over our environment is one of the strongest predictors of mental health and life satisfaction. When you restore a vehicle with your own hands, you're not just rebuilding a car, you're rebuilding your relationship with your own competence and power. The social dimension of choosing restoration reveals yet another layer of psychological depth. People who restore rather than replace almost inevitably find their way into communities built around shared passion and specialized knowledge. These aren't casual interest groups, they're genuine subcultures with their own languages, hierarchies, and codes of respect. Status in these communities comes not from what you purchased, but from what you know and what you've built. Researchers who study hobbyist communities note that they provide a form of belonging that modern society increasingly struggles to deliver. In a world where many traditional community structures have weakened, the restoration community offers something genuinely meaningful: connection based on demonstrated skill, shared values, and mutual respect for craft. Consider now something that might seem philosophical, but is actually deeply psychological: the question of legacy. Human beings are uniquely aware of their own mortality, and this awareness quietly shapes enormous amounts of our behavior. We want to matter. We want to leave something behind. We want evidence that our time here meant something. Choosing to restore a vehicle that is 40, 50, or 60 years old is actually a profound act of generativity, a term psychologists use to describe our drive to contribute something meaningful to future generations. When you bring a neglected classic back to life, you're ensuring it survives beyond you. Perhaps your children will one day drive it. Perhaps strangers will admire it decades after you're gone. The restored car becomes a physical record of your dedication, your skill, and your refusal to let valuable things disappear. There's also something quietly rebellious in the psychology of restoration. Consumer culture operates on a single fundamental premise: newer is better. The latest model, the upgraded version, the current year release. Restorers reject this premise entirely, and not casually. They reject it with thousands of hours of deliberate counter-evidence. They find profound value in what the market has declared worthless. They develop deep expertise in what advertising tells us to forget. This countercultural orientation reflects something important about identity and values. When you choose to restore rather than replace, you're making a statement about what you believe deserves to survive. You're pushing back against disposability with the most powerful argument available: your own time and effort. The learning dimension of choosing restoration deserves its own examination. To restore rather than replace is to commit to becoming someone who understands things deeply: mechanical systems, electrical networks, metalwork, paint chemistry, upholstery, history. The restoration-minded person becomes a generalist expert, someone who has developed real competence across domains that most people never touch. Cognitive researchers have found that this kind of continuous skill acquisition promotes genuine brain health and delays cognitive decline. But beyond the neurological benefits, there's something psychologically essential about real-world mastery: the satisfaction of understanding how something actually works, the pride of executing a difficult technique correctly, the confidence that comes from solving problems that seemed impossible when you first encountered them. This is competence that exists in physical reality, not on a screen, not in a metric, not in someone else's assessment of your performance. People who restore rather than replace often describe their relationship with their projects in language that sounds almost spiritual. They talk about listening to what the vehicle needs, about honoring its history, about the responsibility of stewardship. This language isn't accidental or metaphorical. It reflects a genuine psychological orientation toward meaning and purpose. In an era when many traditional sources of meaning have become complicated or inaccessible, the restoration project offers something remarkably clear: a purpose worthy of your best effort, a challenge that will test everything you have, a goal whose completion you will feel in your bones. And when that completion finally comes, after all the hours and all the problems and all the moments where walking away seemed like the only sensible option, the psychological research on achievement tells us something important. The harder the journey, the deeper the satisfaction of arrival. Easy victories fade quickly. Hard-won accomplishments become part of who you are. But here's the curious truth that most restorers eventually discover. The moment a project finishes, something unexpected arrives alongside the pride, a quiet emptiness, because it was never really about the finished car. It was about the process, the daily purpose, the identity of being someone who restores rather than replaces, which is why people who think this way rarely stop at one project. They're not chasing an object, they're living out a psychology. Next time you see someone turn down a perfectly good new car in favor of something rusted and incomplete, understand what you're actually witnessing. You're watching someone exercise patience in an impatient world, someone choosing meaning over convenience, someone who has discovered that the most satisfying things in life are rarely the easiest ones. That's not just a preference for old cars, that's a profound statement about what it means to be human.